everyone, and welcome to today's art stream. It's moving my tablet, making a loud noise. I hope you're all having a lovely week so far. As you can see today, we are going to continue working on this very cool, very kind of witchy aesthetic Kalashtar character. Aurora Zero, welcome, and congratulations on catching the beginning of the stream. I promise it's always this organised. Yes, as you can see, since last time I added a little bit more. I started working through the very cool kind of armour that she wears underneath her clothing. It's kind of like a very skin type kind of Spider-Man, Iron Man suit style armour that she has going. So yeah, today we're going to continue rendering this character, which is going to see a lot of kind of clothing rendering, which I don't always do on stream, so that might be quite cool to kind of give you guys like a rundown on how I do that. But yeah, let's just see how much we can get done of this super cool character. So I'm just kind of having a little think, and what the first thing I want to do is, I think we're going to start with the kind of long robes that she is wearing. As you can see, I've actually been very good with this particular character. I have in fact named most of my layers, which makes a big difference. This top one is just the color palette for the armor, that's why it's not named. But whenever I make a new layer and start the next portion of painting, I do it by making a new layer underneath all of the previous ones, which means all of my attention to staying within the lines just makes it a little bit quicker and easier for me as I go forward. So we're going to call this coat, because that is what we are painting. And we're going to get started on the coat. Now, the important thing is this character is wearing a lot of black, and when you're painting characters who wear a lot of kind of black clothing laid over each other, it can all blend together a little bit if you don't differentiate and kind of mix up the tones. After all, there is no kind of true black. Even if I drop over this, you can see this is actually incredibly dark pink. All of this kind of corset waistcoat design. So basically you can create black shades derived from all other colours, and that can help them kind of stand apart from each other when you're actually kind of putting together a character design, even if a character technically just kind of wears black clothing. The same goes here. This character is going to be wearing a black coat. However, I'm going to make it a very, very dark grey. I'm going to ever so slightly lighter than the waistcoat she's wearing underneath. So we are going to, instead of going for pinks, we're going to go down towards blues and purples. Use that as our base point. Oh goodness no, naming layers is like the last thing I do. I'm dreadful at naming layers. When I'm just normally working, when I'm not streaming, I just don't do it at all. Well, not all the time. Sometimes I do it. Depends on the piece of work really. But yeah, so basically we're just going to start off slapping down this base tone, which at the moment is a very dark purpley grey. You can kind of see it's slightly different tonally to the waistcoat, and that's how we're going to try and keep things looking separate. I'm also potentially thinking of putting on a slight purple iridescent sheen to the robes, because I do believe these particular robes, when I was sent the references for this character, were inspired by Professor McGonagall's robes, which have a slight kind of velvety sheen to them, and I'm quite interested in trying to capture that. Thank you so much to Peachy Puff and Being Unreal for the follows. I hope you enjoy the stream. We're just getting started, and we're going to see how far we can get today. I'm looking forward to seeing this character come together, because they've been a lot of fun to design and work through so far. I believe the character's name is Lady Wolfram, and she is a Kalashtar Artificer, which is a combination I've never drawn before, and I don't think I've ever actually played either Kalashtar or Artificer, so yeah, lots of new things. Yeah, naming layers can massively help. For me, because I have quite a strict structure hierarchy of my layers, I tend to know where things are. For example, things always ascend down, so starting from the skin, the next thing under the skin is the hair, then under that comes any kind of hat, then under that comes the top of the clothing. Like, I have a sort of a system, so I can kind of know where stuff goes. Because it's like, I find using a system like that can be quite useful later on. Because as you can see, because I've stuck to the lines quite closely here, because this layer is at the bottom, I can just kind of scribble over, and it means that that kind of line there has already been defined for me, so it saves me time later on, so kind of helps with efficiency. But yeah. Call me Kramer. Happy time zone to you too. I hope all is good. It is just gone 5 p.m. Where I am, which means it's kind of approaching that time in the evening where you start thinking about food. I'm trying not to think about food yet. Because if once I do, my stomach will start rumbling and then you'll all be subjected to that sound. And we don't need that sort of Foley work on this stream. Hey, Lezef and Elleran and Udomil33, welcome to the stream. Lovely to have you here. See, it's the thing, wherever you are in the world, somewhere, it's time to think about food. So yeah, putting down the base kind of colours for this coat. I'm not going to do the entire coat. The lower parts of the robe here I'm going to leave. I'm just going to do the top parts and the sleeve for now, because we're going to focus on the upper body for today's stream. And see how far we get. This is my more detailed rendered style, so it does take a little bit longer. But I'm confident that we'll see some good progress today. And this is usually how I go about filling in areas. I will do like a smaller brush outline to make sure it's neatly up to the line art. And then I will fill that and tidy it up, as you will see in a moment. Yeah, it's been a pretty chill week so far. Quite productive, more productive than usual, which is always a good thing. I'm trying to get lots of work done because I'm actually having visitors this weekend, which will be wonderful. I haven't really seen people for a year, so that's very exciting. It does mean that I can't work on Friday and I'm going to have to clean the whole house, which is terrifying, so I'm trying to get plenty of work done now in the meantime. Alright, now we're just going to fill all that in and then go in and tidy up these nasty white lines that the fill tool leaves us. And this, as long as you're pressing fairly hard, you won't leave any kind of bits behind, but you do have to make sure that you have got rid of them, because when we stick on the alpha lock, if we haven't got rid of them properly, then they will show through. We don't want that. We don't want these ugly little lines. Also, I'm very, very excited. Tonight is the very first session of our new D&D game, the one using Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, and I'm going to be playing my new character for the first time this evening, the one I was working on stream on Friday. Yeah, I'm playing her this evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. I always love the first session of a new D&D game. There's nothing quite like that incredible hype leading up to a brand new game. It's always very, like, infectious excitement. Okay, that is one side done. I'm actually kind of loath to do the other side because I'd rather... nah, we'll do it now. We'll do it now and save me time and effort later. Let's not be lazy. Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. I know that we're kind of using I think there's like a starting campaign in the Odyssey of the Dragon Lords DM guide, which I haven't read. I have no idea what's gonna happen, so no spoilers. And I'm so excited for it. With my sweet feral undead child, this will be very fun. I say sweet. She's not really sweet. She's kind of based on a cross between Striga from Castlevania and Nezuko from Demon Slayer, because I'm really into Demon Slayer right now. I'm hopefully gonna be able to go and see Mugen Train, I don't know why I said that with a German accent. The Demon Slayer movie. Hoping to see that later this week. No spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers. Yeah, present rage doing future rage a solid doesn't often happen, but it's important when it does. Just realised that is not the bounding line for the coat, that is in fact part of the arm. There is the line here. See, I need to interpret my own line art. Whoops, that was a little bit messy there. Let's just be a little gentler as we go through there. No, we all know what we're playing because we did a session 0 together where we built our characters. The party is a 6-person party, so it's quite a big group of adventurers, which is lovely. We've got obviously myself playing my vampire druid, one of my other friends is playing Pandora, who is a, I believe she is a Oath of Glory paladin, big kind of Achilles energy. Then we have a fantastic monk, I believe, who's going to be Drunken Master monk called Cassandra. She is going to be super cute, and she's human. The paladin is going to be a star nymph, which is one of the new playable races in the Odyssey of the Dragonlords book, which is a lot of fun. Then we've got another party member who is a siren, not the mermaid type siren, the traditional kind of more birdie siren-y, birdie harpy type sirens, who is called, I think they're called Miren, or Myron, I need to double check on their name pronunciation, but they are going to be a bard. I'm not sure what college yet. We're all starting at level 1, so we're super baby with no subclasses. Then we also have, that's 4 including me, isn't it? The last 2 are 2 clerics. We have a trickster cleric, also human, I believe, who is going to be hilarious, very kind of James from Jesse and James energy for that character. And then finally a very lovely water nymph. I believe they are a river nymph, so a naiad. I believe it's Mirad for ocean nymphs. Anyway, so we have a naiad twilight cleric, I believe. So we're a pretty well equipped party, because I'm going to eventually be playing a moon druid, so big tank there. Yes, this is the new Dragonlords campaign, which we're all very excited for. Very excited to see how it's going to go. I know it's going to be very chaotic and fun, and the character dynamics are going to be great, because half the party are very, very much jocks. We have a half jock party going on. And we've all been summoned to a place by a Oracle of Delphi style kind of character who has sent messages to each of our characters for our epic quest to begin. The Bean Beanson, thank you so much. She was tons of fun to design. Like I said earlier, I've been in a super kind of Let's Play a Vampire frame of mind recently, because partially of Castlevania, and partially I rewatched all of Demon Slayer in preparation for going to see the Demon Slayer movie soon. I really like Demon Slayer, and I like that the demons have big kind of vampire energy, which is fun. So it seems like it's a really fun little lineage to play, and I like that it is a lineage in that your character, obviously before they became a Dhampir, was something else. My character was a half-elf before she became a Dhampir, and the racial abilities are really fun. Having Spider Climb is a delight for creeping people out. Looking forward to using that one. The caveat that you don't need to breathe, very fun, gonna lead to some interesting scenarios, I'm sure. And of course the fantastic kind of healing bite is gonna be so much fun, and I like that it's now Constitution modifier rather than Strength, which works great for my my druid, because she has, I think Constitution's her second highest score. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot tonight. We're all level 1, so we're absolute babies, so I might need that healing bite. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I believe the bite is like a d4 plus your con modifier for damage, and you get to basically use that, the same amount of damage, you restore that as hit points. But I think you can only use it a number of times equal to your proficiency modifier per day. Per long rest, I should say. Which is pretty cool. They also get obviously they get dark vision, like I say, they have Spider Climb, kind of, I think, always passive, and they don't need to breathe. So there aren't any mechanics dictating like, oh, you must feed so many times on blood per day, because once you do that, it becomes kind of a bit too much like BTM. It's more like a fun fluff thing that you kind of have to, which I prefer really. I wouldn't like feeling mechanically like, oh damn, I'm gonna have to go through the whole edgy vampire feeding process every long rest or whatever. But yeah, they're in Van Richten's, which I kind of only ordered Van Richten's partially because someone pointed out that this was in there, and like, oh, I really like to have all of the options for my player characters on my bookshelf, so did kind of go and order that. But the other new playable subclasses and races in the book are really good too, so really recommend it. Okay, so we have the base colors for the top half of the coat done. I'm going to leave it the bases there and do the lower half of the coat once we've gone down and done the legs some more. So the next thing we want to do here is start shading the coat. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lighten it. I know I said it's black, it is, but just to help my eyes see what's going on, I do often fiddle with colors a little bit when I'm starting out, because part of the problem here is it's a beautiful sunny day. Even though it's 5 PM, it's still quite bright outside, and I don't have any curtains in this room, so painting dark colors on dark colors is very difficult. I also have very bad eyesight, so I often will mess with my colors a little bit when I'm designing a character to make them a little easier to kind of get the shading right. And thank you so much to Empyrean and Grim Ghost for the follows. Thank you very much. But yeah, I'm very, very excited. I've never played a lot of the subclasses, the new playable races from recent books. I have a habit of sticking to tieflings because, as many people who watch my streams know, I adore tieflings very, very much. Okay, so quickly to shade clothing, what I usually do is I create a new layer clipped to the base colors. I make sure this is set to multiply, and then I go ahead, pick out a very, very, very pale magenta pink color, like very pale, and then we're just going to fill in that entire layer. And as you can see, it all just kind of got a bit darker. And then I'm going to switch to a white colored brush. I'm still using my usual brush, which I use for almost everything, which is the hard round pressure size brush, so that's this one. And then you want to go into brush settings and make sure transfer is turned on. And you've got all of these settings here. You want your control set to pen pressure, and that needs to be on minimum, so you can get the nice soft shading. Ooh, excuse me. And yeah. So yeah, basically with this shading technique, rather than adding shadows, I am removing shadows. I find this, for some reason, a lot more intuitive. And for me, it makes for a much more three-dimensional end result. I don't know why this is. It seems to be like a way your mind works. Some people find it easier to add shadows. Some people find it easier to take shadows away and add light. Yeah. The Bean Beanson. Funny you should ask. What about we turn this into an impromptu D&D explanation stream? Let me just grab my book, and I will read to you the aspects of the Dhampir class from my handy copy of Van Richten's. I'm not sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. Let me just find the, here we go, the Dhampir. Basically, the Dhampir gets a ton of kind of cool little features. You don't necessarily addicted to blood, which is quite fun. They have a little table of hungers that you can roll on. They range from blood to cerebral spinal fluid, which is delicious. Psychic energy and dreams. You could be a Gengar. If you want to live your dreams and play Gengar in D&D, you now can. So yeah, you have a list of little hungers. You have a cute table of origin stories as well, which is really fun. And then you have obviously your creature traits. They're, humanoid, they're medium or small. They do get a slight speed upgrade. They get 35 feet as a base speed, which is fun. I guess that's meant to kind of replicate how vampires are like super fast and stuff. And you get a lineage. So basically you kind of think about what race your character was before they became a Dhampir, and then you can kind of take your kind of stats from that, or like I often do, I use the class modifier, goodness sake, the class modifier module that Gabe James Games wrote, which I did some of the artwork for, and is a really nice kind of alternative to using kind of racial stats. Obviously you get dark vision, you get deathless nature, you don't need to breathe, which is super fun. spider climb, you have a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, which is really fun. You can walk across ceilings at 3rd level, which is great. And your vampiric bite, which is like the biggest deal about this class. Race. When you attack with your bite and hit a creature that isn't a construct or undead, you can deal d4 piercing damage, and I believe you can use your constitution modifier instead of your strength, which is really fun. And you regain hit points equal to the piercing damage dealt by the bite, or you can gain a bonus to the next ability check or attack roll you make equal to the piercing damage dealt by the bite. So lots of really kind of cool stuff added with the Dhampir lineage, so I definitely recommend it. Anyway, back to the art. That's what we're here for. Right, so we are slowly adding our highlights to this coat. And again, the important thing when you are doing things like sleeves is to treat the arm like a tube, because that is what arms are. They are flesh tubes. And as a result, when you're kind of shading or highlighting, treat it like a cylinder. So don't ever kind of just use straight lines. You always want to be curving your highlights and your shadows to go around the tubey shape of the arm. But yeah, it's a very, very fun, very fun lineage that I'm super excited to start playing tonight. I'm just gonna add straight up light on the lapels, because this will help the lapels kind of stick out a little bit. Just gonna carry on this down here a little bit. And then just carry on the sleeve. I'm going to make my brush a bit smaller to get some of these little creases and folds. Trying to keep the edges nice and soft, but you can get a really nice kind of scrunchy effect using this style. When you're using white on the multiply layer, yes, so using white on the multiply layer is basically erasing. In fact, when I first started using this shading style, I actually used the eraser tool rather than painting in white. But the reason I now vastly prefer painting in white instead of erasing is you can use the eyedropper tool with current layer turned on, and basically use this to eyedrop between the light and the dark. And you can use this to kind of get a nice gradient effect by grabbing a color in between the white and the pink, and use this to blend in your light, which was what I was actually about to do. So yeah, it kind of it makes blending the shadows a lot easier if you paint in white rather than using the eraser tool. That's a little tip there. Oh my god, I would love a gnome artificer to be a Dhampir. That sounds fantastic. No problem at all. Yeah, and it's something that I kind of worked out on my own. And it just makes the process much more kind of, I don't know, kind of more organic if I don't have to be picking colours and stuff. Outside of that sleeve done. I'm just going to do kind of where the top of the side of the bust would be here. There's going to be a little bit of light, and then it's mostly going to go into shadow as it goes down here. Again, tiny bit of light kind of creeping up there, and then we will do some blending as we kind of transition into mostly shadow in the lower half of the coat. Miss Callisto, thank you so much. Yeah, there is a lot to learn when it comes to Photoshop, and a lot of stuff I picked up as I was learning over like the last 10 years or so. So it kind of helps speed things up if you can watch someone else and be like, I didn't know you could do that, and stuff like that. So, and that's why you see me kind of constantly eyedropping. In fact, that's kind of a style I use for most of my painting. Like when I was shading the face, in order to get smooth blends, I don't use the Photoshop blending tool because I just don't jam with it at all. I don't like it. So when I blend, rather than using a tool to do it, I'm just constantly eyedropping between colors and just kind of laying them over each other until you kind of build up a gradient of your own. Leza, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you next time. All right, so we've got to kind of need to have some darker elements going deeper into the sleeve. So to do that, we're just going to grab a darker pink. It's as simple as that. And then we're just going to start working that in. Kind of, whoops, where the sleeve is naturally going to get a wee bit darker. Also, my undos are going to be a bit slower today because my left hand is really painful. I often like sleep weirdly with my wrist like pinned back like that or something, and it means that for the rest of the day my hand just hurts like hell. So my left hand's a bit messed up today, but it could be worse. It could be my right hand. Okay, as you can see, we're getting some nice shadows kind of developing in that sleeve. I think we can go ahead and take this shadow color elsewhere, because we'll have a few other areas on the sleeve where we'll want this darker shadow, such as inside the scrunchiest of the fabric folds. Oh, I've just realized that this here, this isn't sleeve, this is part of the arm, so let me just erase that. To the pungent with you, it's true. I'll need to make an emote that is just to the pungent. But as you can see, using these darker shades of pink, we can get some nice deeper shadows in this fabric. Thank you so much to Sendra's Anim, Rosafang, and Abaddon1 for the follows. I hope you enjoy the stream, and you know, have a wonderful afternoon as well. And thank you so much to Aidenolia for the subscription. Subs make such a big difference to small streamers like me, and we do appreciate them massively, so thank you so much. I'm just gonna add a little bit more blending around here. Yeah, I've got a kind of a TTRPG filled week, because obviously I'm playing Odyssey tonight, and then when my friends visit around for this weekend, we are going to be playing some Vampire the Masquerade, the 5th edition, which will be fun. I haven't played 5th edition for ages. I DM'd a game of Fall of London last summer, and in fact the game we're playing on Saturday is a continuation of that game, but with a different DM, because I find VTM a very, very tiring game to DM. I don't know why, compared to 5e, which I can feel quite energized after running a session of sometimes. VTM is exhausting. Okay, there is the shading on one half of the sleeve. You can kind of see the difference it makes there. So let's go ahead and do the same on the other side. Oh, thank you so much, Aidenolia. That's very, very kind. Just gonna grab a fairly small brush for this as we go along, because some of these top bits are quite fiddly. And then we can grab a bigger brush as we get to kind of large areas. Okay, and then obviously, like before, we've got a lot of creases around the elbow. Even if your arm is straight, you still tend to get kind of fabric ruching up around the elbow, so that area is probably always one of the most creasy parts. VTM is quite dialogue heavy, and it's much obviously more political. There's like, most sessions of VTM don't have any combat in at all when I play. So you're constantly trying to outwit your players and come up with more kind of juicy intrigue for them to be discovering. So yeah, it can be a lot more tiring to DM, and also it's very atmospheric. You've got a whole lot of description to do to get across the proper kind of horror vibes. Fall of London was a really fun campaign to run because it does fill in a lot of those blanks for you, but there's still an awful lot of atmosphere work you've got to pop in. Because VTM to me is really all about getting that spooky atmosphere. and like before, we're going to go across, grab the darker shadow color, and bring that back to the right hand side. And I joke about brush sizes an awful lot. Like, I don't really have standard brush sizes. A lot of people say, oh, what size do you use for this? What size do you use for that? And I say, whatever kind of works at the time, to be honest. I don't really have anything set in stone when it comes to brush sizes, just settings. Alright, I'm going to bring plenty of that dark shading on the right hand side because we've got the arm here, and we want to make sure we've got lots of contrast when we do paint the arm in, which we might end up doing in this stream. We'll see. Okay, I am liking where this is going. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to go back down to that plain base color layer, and we're going to add some, a little bit more color and light. This is kind of like the equivalent of adding highlights. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this a little bit more saturated because like I said earlier, I almost want that slight purpley velvety sheen to the fabric of this coat. So, one of the techniques that I find quite useful to draw from for doing this sort of thing is thinking about it a bit like edge highlighting when you're painting miniatures. I often will add highlights to the edges of parts, and then it helps them kind of stand out from each other. Oh, my hair's doing the banana thing again. Oh, sewer creature. I mean, I just look around my workspace and I can already see like 2 glasses. I'm the worst for that kind of thing. But it's cool because I have to have a massive house tidy up, probably tomorrow. So you can be fairly sparing with the light tones. You want to kind of add them again at the edge of your areas of light, and then they kind of span the middle, almost getting smaller in the center. And this kind of technique will give you that nice kind of sheen, almost like satin or velvet to rendering fabrics. You can see that gives it a nice kind of almost shiny texture. Yeah, I've got a hoover tomorrow. I've got stuff all over my floor, like loose threads and fluff from when I was doing lots of sewing last weekend, and I haven't had the spoons to kind of manage it all yet. So I do need to deal with that. Hey, Crimson Rockstar, I'm doing very well, thank you. I hope you're doing good too. It's a beautiful day. It's like the first non-rainy sunny day we've had here in a long time. Going through a proper rainy patch here in the UK. It's gross, and the pond that we were cleaning out is still completely full of water, so we haven't been able to touch it for a few days. So that's annoying. Because I really wanted to have more garden work done before we had our first visitors and at our new place, and it just hasn't really happened because every weekend has just been a rain fest. Right, let's see if we want some purple down here. My partner's probably just getting home from work, so if there is a sound like a door clattering from downstairs, that's probably what it is. Alright, there is our top half of her coat. As you can see, like, it's still a very dark colour, but it looks distinct enough from the black waistcoat to be its own sort of thing. And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve, so yay us. I'm gonna save, because saving is very important. And then we're going to move on to the fantastic kind of, I really love the design of this character. Not the parts necessarily that I've done, that sounds like I'm really kind of singing my own praises there, but no, the references I was sent for this character are very cool, and they've got this very cool kind of mechanical exoskeleton armor, which we are going to work on now. We're going to move on to rendering out the arm. Undomil33, thank you very much for joining, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Meanwhile, thank you very much to Gabrielli and SlimWheezy76 for the follows. I hope you enjoy the stream. So, with the coat done, as before, we make a new layer underneath, always underneath, and we are going to call it Arm 1, because I am anticipating more than one layer. In fact, I'm anticipating several if I do anything like I've done up there. And that is kind of the vibe we're going to be taking from. We're going to be using a very similar design for the metallic armor on the arm as we've used around the chest and the neck. Yes, LRN, you could say it is armor. Oh dear. Alright, now, to start with, I'm actually going to do this set of plates here. I'm going to cut eye drop from up here and basically use the same coloring for this bit. And I when I'm painting anything mechanical like this, which I don't do very often because it's not my strong point, I can do it. And, you know, I'm quite pleased with how I do it. It just takes me an awfully long time, which is why I limit these kind of commissions. But yes, I tend to take it section by section. Sometimes to the point I'll do a separate layer for every single little metal plate, but these are quite small, so I'm not going to do that here. Okay, so with that filled in, I'm just going to start off straight away with shadows and shading. So, shadows and shading, that should literally be the name of this show, if this was a show. I'm going to turn off the glow, so I can eye drop with impunity. And yeah, we're just going to use some shadow colors from up top down here. And giving all of this a nice metallic sheen is going to be a challenge, but one we will rise to. Okay, next level, I'm going to grab a darker shadow. Sorry, there's going to be an awful lot of motion sickness as I drag you between different parts of the canvas, so apologies in advance. Right, so each of these little plates is going to be overlapping another plate, so we need to add that shadow in. Hey, thank you so much to Gaston55 for the follow. I guess I am an artificer. That also does make very good sense. And we see that coming together down there. Well, now it's time to add some highlights. So we're gonna grab this nice blue. I found this really cool, kind of some really cool photos of blued steel. And if you're not familiar what bluing is, it's a process during kind of when you craft armor that by heating the steel up to a certain temperature, you give it this wonderful blue sheen. And it was like a status symbol a lot for like Tudor nobles and stuff. And it just gives steel this beautiful blackish blue kind of vibe. Which I really liked, so I ran it past the commissioner and they liked it too. So that's kind of what we ended up using for the metal. It certainly feels like it requires attunement if attunement was money and expenses. Alright, so a lot of metallics shading I also do on the Overlines layer, because screw that line art, I guess. So there we go, there is the first little section. As you can see, this is a very multi-layered process. Time for arm 2, which will probably be, I'll probably do all these little wires next. The wires, I think the wires will be very dark, black and grey. Attunement. That is very good. Thank you. I didn't get that one the first time, but now I do. Actually, let's see, is there somewhere up here I can drag this color from? Kinda. We'll use this very dark purpley black. I'm just gonna turn down the saturation a tiny bit though. Okie dokie, let's go wires. Painting around the kind of armor plates. Let's just fill, yeah, I'm just gonna fill in all of these wiry bits. Again, that same kind of challenge of how do you make a design where almost all the parts are black? How do you make all the bits stand out from each other? And once again, the answer is just subtle variations in tone, my friend. And then the wires kind of come to an end up here. Thank you so much to Nomia Trapan. Hope I said that right. Thank you so much for the follow. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Okay, so there's our base layer for all these wires in. With the alpha channel locked, we can straight away go in. I've just noticed that's not very good opacity in there, is it? Oh well, we'll fix that in a minute. Straight away going to go in with a darker color and add a bit of shading. Again, the contrast is quite minimal right now because it's so dark, but it will make a difference in the end result, I promise. Okay, now numing back up to the Overlines layer, grabbing that original dark purple and slightly lighter version of it for the highlights, for the grey. It is quite Ori, isn't it? This is still by Kai Engel, which is the artist who writes kind of all the music I use in my streams. Which, BT dubs, I will stuck a link in chat. But it definitely has those Ori vibes. And I know because I love the Ori soundtrack myself. It's very beautiful. Okay, next layer. On 3. We're getting there, folks. For this bit, we're going to use this dark steel with quite nice contrasting highlights. And this is going to cover this part of the arm as well as these large kind of plate gauntlets. Yeah, it's super good for D&D atmosphere. Very, very good. How do I pick color for metal shading? Yeah, they totally would, which is wild, and that's why metal shading is such a pain in the butt. Yeah, no, I totally get it, call me Kramer, my brain can't do it alone either. To get the colors, what I literally do, and it's shameless, and I'll tell you it's what most concept artists do, is you want to find the photo reference you really like of, a lot of the time I use medieval armor, like lark armor, or kind of medieval, what's the word? I'll keep trying, the word replicant comes to my mind, that's not it. I can't think. Anyway, getting a photograph of the kind of thing you're looking for. And then you want to bring that into your Photoshop, and you basically want to build yourself a color palette by eyedropping off of that. Often what you'll want to do is do a little bit of color balancing using this tool. You can, for example, turn the blues up or the pinks down or vice versa to kind of get it to suit your scene or your character. And then I just straight up will use the eyedropper tool to build myself a palette based on that photograph. And then I get rid of the photograph because, well, usually I don't. I do when I'm streaming purely because of copyright things. I don't want to have someone else's kind of photography up on my screen. In terms of recommendations for sites, that kind of thing, I mean, I still use Pinterest a lot for a lot of things. I also use, the Royal Armouries Museum, fantastic collection. I've actually been lucky enough to go there in person. It's in Leeds. The Royal Armouries Museum website has some really cool stuff on it for armour in particular, so definitely recommend that. My partner actually went to a job interview at the Royal Armouries Museum because he studied history, which is very cool. It meant I got to go along and spend like a whole day sketching really badass armors and weapons from all sorts of different cultures and do lots of cool research and stuff. But yes, using reference like that is the best way to get colors looking nice, and oftentimes I will use the eyedropper tool. I will kind of be building myself a palette and like, wow, I never would have thought these colors were what they actually were when I picked them. Oh god, my nose is really itching again. Alright, so now we have our base layer for this gauntlet. I'm gonna stick on the alpha look, bring up my reference on my other screen, and we can begin as soon as Photoshop has unfrozen itself. Yeah, reenactment gear. That was the word I was trying to come up with earlier. Alright, so I'm just going to start off actually quite roughly. Because we're going to have a stripe of light coming right down here. And then we're going to have darker colours, which I'm going to go in and just hand shade now with size 9. Yeah, that's the edge. Yes. My brain sometimes struggles to work things out. Sometimes painting is like a math problem. Or at least it feels like it. And don't forget to save, very important. Yeah, it is surprisingly 9 times out of 10 when you're looking for a colour for something, it'll be some kind of pink. Which ironically is probably the same reason that a lot of my shading is done in pink. My multiply layers are set to pink because you get an awful lot of pink and purple in nature and in kind of the way natural light and stuff appears. You'd be surprised. Again, remembering that this kind of gauntlet and gauntlet type shapes are mostly derived from cylinders, so you kind of want to approach them like you would shading a cylinder. Kind of see how that's coming together. I'm going to grab that dark color again. Need even smaller, I think, as I shade these detailed bits. And sometimes shading is almost more giving the line art a little bit of a kick than it is actually introducing shade. When you get down to such a detailed level, sometimes it can be, the two kind of blur into each other. Okay, there is a good starting point for that gauntlet. So the next thing I'm going to do, we're going to take this light and start, we're basically just going to start stretching it. And again, kind of using that edge highlighting vibe on these other parts of the gauntlet just to help them stick out a bit. And then something that's very important is side lighting when it comes to metals. Oops, I'm very cockney then for a second. Cool, so we're going to grab this pink once again and just pop a bit of it right on these edges. Again, helps give you that kind of cylindrical metallic feel. And it also helps, you want to remember to keep your brush setting to transfer at this point because you want complete control over that opacity. Okay, so with that done, it's time to get a bit brighter, so to speak. We can go ahead and grab this pale blue. And I think this is about the time where I'm going to move up to the Overlines layer. Now these cuff bits are going to be a slightly brighter metal, like a slightly more, bit more of a sheen to them. And again, it's all about this kind of squished eye shape. Let me just kind of show you. Often when I have metal, I will have top side, bottom side, and then in between I will do a sort of a squishy squishy hourglass shape, and that's off, as you can kind of see, that's the basic shape that I've applied to these edges to get that nice kind of effect. And that's what I kind of call it. I think I will start calling it the hourglass shading style. And it works for a variety of different finishes. I used something similar earlier on the coat. But I don't know if it's really rooted in reality at all, but it looks nice. Wow, did I just sum up my painting style or what? Just gonna put plenty of blue on these bits. And then I have a little bit of blue edging on that little bit of the arm there, just poking out from the dark. That's what counts. Will the name stand the test of time? No, probably not. Because I forget things the day, like 5 minutes after I say them. But it sounded good for the moment. Okay, there is the blue. I'm now going to basically add some blue to other areas as well. Because at the end of the day, this gauntlet is all formed of a very similar metal. There we go, you see that? Nice and shiny and metallic. Oh, I do need to add some of this shadow in here. And then finally, we're going to grab the lightest bit of blue, which you can see a bit of right there, and use that for the brightest parts. Whoops, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I accidentally drag that down. I'm not meaning to. Okay, and there we have a metallic gauntlet, and we will basically move on to the hand now, I think. Oh, Gwen, thank you so much. It's very, very kind. And thank you as well to the drawing board for the follow. Okay, let's move on to this hand. Painting hands is fun. We love it here. What I am going to do is I'm going to merge all these arm layers together. They don't need to be separate anymore. Thank goodness. And we'll make a new layer called and we're just going to start by going straight in, and I think the hand is mostly going to be a bit lighter, so we're going to start with this grey as a starting point, and it's a very kind of bluish grey. And again, taking as much care as we can to stick within those lines, just to make our lives easier later on. So I don't hate drawing hands, they're okay. Robotic hands, harder, certainly more difficult. Feet, no. Robotic or not, do not like drawing feet. Feet are so weird. They don't look right. Again, we want to make sure we've got the opacity where it should be. Don't want any kind of patchy bits like we're painting a wall badly. Goodness gracious, I need a band to stop my hair in my face. Robotic me off. I mean, that one was a bit of a stretch, but I'll accept it. So I don't know why my voice is so scratchy today. Maybe it's because I haven't used it this week. Alright, let's fill that in and paint around that little white line it leaves behind. Okay, that one was actually better. I think that one was slightly more appropriate. Literally, that Aura Zero, that is 100% the name of the game. I don't really talk much during the midweek because obviously my partner's at work. And aside from that, I don't really speak to anyone with, like, words. Okay, so adding on that helpful friend, Alpha Lock, before we get stuck into the shading. Grabbing this pleasant purple. As you can see, there's another one of these power gems in her palm, which is also going to have the cool glow effect. Oh, Aurora Zero, I'm much worse. I talk to my plants sometimes. Beta Dubs, I'm going to have to show you. I'm so proud. Look at my darling Alocasia Calidora has put out a massive new leaf for me. Isn't that kind? Sorry, I'm a weird plant person, but I'm proud of that leaf. I've lost my pen. Here it is. Here we go. Right. Here we go. I'm going to start by just adding some shading around the main kind of pads, if that makes sense. I'm very proud of my plant children, okay? Miss Callisto, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Very grateful for every sub we get here. I mean, I haven't really done anything special to keep my plants alive other than I do my best not to overwater. That's the most dangerous thing you can do when you are keeping plants. I made up my own soil for them, which is basically 2 parts like houseplant potting soil, 1 part perlite and 1 part orchid bark. And I try not to let them be in direct sun too much. That's kind of it. I did use the planter app to kind of track watering and stuff, but it's now got to the point where I have too many plants. And the app is just kind of activates the executive dysfunction feeling when I see I've got a million things to do. I just kind of do them now. Oh, Miss Callisto, thank you so much. That's very, very kind. It just makes me very happy that people can, enjoy what I'm doing here. And this is quite an exciting character, so I've really enjoyed painting her on stream. She's quite different. So yeah. Okay, hand progress. This is flipping hard though. Woo. And thank you so much to SB Bungus and Mary Nerd for the follows. I hope you enjoy the stream. Thank you so much for joining me. Alright, it's time to grab the darker shading colour. We'll grab it from over the chest area and just start to paint this in all those nooks and crannies where we're going to get heavier shadow. What brush am I using? It's quite simple. For almost every part of the painting process, at least everything I've done today, I am using in General Brushes tab on Photoshop. In Wet Media Brushes, are they usually called that? No, they're not. Ignore wet. Somehow I've dragged that in. Ignore that. In General Brushes, it's the 4th one down. It's called Hard Round Pressure Size. You want to go into brush settings. You want to tick the box next to transfer and make sure these sliders are all set to the bottom. The top control is set to pen pressure and flow jitter is off. And that is the pen I use for all of my painting. The only thing I don't use this pen for is for certain rendering of hair. I have a special brush for that, but since we're not really doing hair today, you can find that on my other streams. Which reminds me, I actually have last week's streams that are currently uploading onto my YouTube channel. I'm sorry the VODs weren't out sooner, but they are slowly uploading at the moment as we stream. Which is probably a terrible idea, but it doesn't seem to affect my internet too much. Alright, let's get a bit more shadow around here. And the little kinks between the fingers and joints. coming along quite nicely. I think it's time we added some light. So grabbing the same light we use, actually no, we're going to go more blue for this one. I'm going to jump up to overlines because I prefer rendering on overlines when it comes to highlights. I'm going to grab this nice lavender blue. And yeah, I'm just going to start going ham with this. Maybe a smaller brush. Thank you so much to Mr. He334 for the follow. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And hello, Mary Nerd. Lovely to have you here. Now, obviously, we're going to have this glowing crystal in the center of her palm, so that's where a lot of my lighting is going to be kind of focused on. But you can kind of see from this why these metallic elements do take a lot longer to paint and render than softer fabrics and organic elements. Organic elements, I can talk. And then we're also going to, of course, have some backlighting going on. So I'm going to grab a slightly more grayer highlight color and we're going to work that along the back with an itty bitty brush. There we go. Okie dokie, and finally we're going to grab the bright blue highlight colour and apply that in a couple of places. We're going to be fairly sparing with it. I can use it for that little joint there. Okie dokie, and finally we're going to render the little purple crystal in the center. So I'm going to be using the same colors that I've used for this crystal in the center of her chest. And I'm going to use that over here. And you've probably noticed that I'm still on the Overlines layer, and that's because at this point I kind of enjoy that. I kind of like painting without being restricted by my line art too much. And thank you so much, Catch Hiccup, for the follow. Let's grab a lighter purple. Yeah, this is fine. I like doing this stuff on the overlay layer. Are you in any D&D games at the moment? Yes, I am. In fact, in about an hour and a half, I'm going to be playing Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, which is a Modiphius kind of ancient Greek inspired setting for D&D 5e. And I'm very excited for that. It's our first game, for the first session of the game. We spent the last week kind of getting our characters prepped, and I'm very excited. I'm also in the middle of DMing a long running game of Rime of the Frost Maiden, which is one of the new modules Wizards brought out last year, which is fantastically good fun. My party are having a lot of fun with that one. Can definitely recommend that one. That one's good fun. And then I'm playing VTM at the weekend. So yeah, you could say I'm in quite a few games. For the game we're starting tonight, we're starting off as itty bitty level 1s, so exceedingly squishy. Icewind Dale is so much fun. It took me a little while to work out how I wanted the story to flow, because I didn't really want to do the full, 5 adventures in the 10 towns, then 5 adventures in the wilderness, and then only then are you kind of ready to tackle other things, because we only play every 2 weeks and sometimes less than that, so it was taking a long time. But I've now worked out how I want the story to go, and I'm very excited to see it all play out. Okay, now we have that little crystal. I'm actually going to just do a tiny bit more shading on it. There we go. We can turn the glow layer back on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I've said I wanted... I'm on overlines. I want to go onto the glow layer, grab that glow color, and what we're going to do is just with a normal brush, just going to whack that all over this crystal in the palm, really roughly. It doesn't need to be neat. And then we are just going to cordon off that area and then stick on a blur, so it really just has a nice little glow about it. Power gem! And there we go, there is that hand for you. Yeah, so my character for the game I'm playing tonight, the Dragon Lords game, is a Vampire Druid. I was working on their art on Friday. I'm gonna go back to the arm layer to kind of work on this arm, I think. And she is, like I say, a druid. She's gonna be a moon druid. I haven't played moon druid before, so I'm very excited. Yeah, she was kidnapped by a cult of druids when she was a baby because her parents did the very silly thing of accidentally insulting the gods in the classic Greek legend style, very much like Andromeda from the Perseus myth. So she was spirited away by some druids and has been basically raised by them and turned into a Vampire, so that's fun. Really looking forward to it. Okay, so there's our first bit. Once again, we enter the realm of making 1,000,001 arm layers, but we will simply work through it. So we start off with that and then introduce our first layer of light, kind of have a sort of a process now for how I'm approaching this. I say that. Yeah, there we go, it's just taking a little while. Photoshop lag. Introduce that nice stripe of light, a little bit on this side as well, before we'll then go ahead and grab shading color. And just start working into it with the shadows. Unlike when I'm shading fabric and stuff, I don't use multiply layers for metals because metals metals shadows kind of behave in a slightly less predictable way than fabrics because they're so highly reflective. You can get a lot more weird stuff going on, which is why I tend to kind of fully micromanage the shading process. Photoshoppy, that's pretty good. Okay, now let's jump up to Overlines. Drop down our brush size a bit, and then start doing some of the manual highlights. I mean, I say all of these highlights are manual, but this is like more detailed stuff. Thank you so much to K-Staff for the follow. I hope you enjoy the stream. Okay, that's our first layer of highlights, and then very similar to before, we go ahead and I'm actually going to grab it from over here because, yeah, I don't trust that I'd be grabbing exactly the same color, and we apply this lovely highlight to get that nice metallic sheen. No, I want a 6, there we go. But yes, my Vampire character is one part inspired by Castlevania's Striga, who I adore, and one part inspired by Nezuko from Demon Slayer. And we're also probably going to have just a little bit of highlight on the actual metal itself. There. Yeah, that works for me. Cool, moving on to the next part. We are going to make another layer because now we start the infinite layers. Oh, Striga, right? Oh, Marino, thank you so much. And thanks so much for dropping by. It was very kind. And call me Kramer as well. Thank you for joining us. And I will see you soon. Okay, for this next bit, I think we're going to have another area of wires down here. So we're going to go ahead and grab our wires color from over here. And just start kind of working this in. Whoops. me forgetting to be a tidy painter and instead being a messy painter. Any other areas with wires? Oh, there are around the wrist, so I might just pop that in here now as well. This arm is a little bit more stretched out than the other one, so we get to see these little kind of inny bits. Okay, and with that in, we can then grab the shading color and add a bit of shadow. Of course, there's quite a lot of shadow here because we've got lots of different intersecting parts. Okay, wonderful, and then back up to the Overlines layer to finally apply the highlights. Yeah, this particular artist has a real good kind of variety going. Like, I quite like the sci-fi style. Okay, it is now time to approach the Gauntlet. So, very similar to before, I'm just going to merge these two together, make a new layer, begin with the base color, and just fill it all in to start us off. And then fill that in, tidy up those edge bits, which are all a bit rough right now. Make sure it's locked and loaded, and apply the nice stripe of a highlight, which we're probably going to have going all the way down through here. And then there will be a slightly lighter one coming along the back. And then we can blend these in a bit. Okay, and there are our basic shinies for this layer. We can now grab that shadow color and then start working in all of the little shadow places. And again, remembering this is metal, so kind of making sure the shadows behave in that nice reflective way. Oops. Let's try and be a bit neater with that. We've got the shadow kind of coming down through here. I feel like we should have a darker shadow than this. Where are you at, my dark shadows? There you are. Whoops. I knew I was after a dark tone. I was like, where's my contrast gone? Okay, we've got these kind of nice, cool kind of cutout bits. Basically, this side of the gauntlet has a lot more detail on than the other side did. Okay. There is our nice kind of shadows going in there. Hey, Cypress Spectre, welcome! Lovely to have you here, as always. So now it's time to go in with the lighter colour, and it's time to jump up to the Overlines layer. And yeah, it's time for some light. And you find, again, we're going to use that kind of edge highlighting approach to bring out the edges. There we go. Can you see how that's coming along quite nicely? And again, these kind of cuff parts are always going to be brighter than the rest of the surrounding metal. And yeah, I've been pretty good this week. I got quite a lot done, which always feels good. It's nice to feel productive. Yeah, I've got people coming over this weekend. We're going to play some VTM. That's going to be rad. I haven't actually been able to roll dice in person with friends for a long time, so very excited for this. Yeah, it's all going to be very nice. But it does mean that trying to be super productive this side of the week, so I don't have to worry about working at the weekend. The freelancer pain. And that extra bit of shiny here and there. Alright, and then finally the brightest highlight colour will pop in a sec, but first I'm just going to add some nice brighter, kind of more of that blue, just to certain parts of the gauntlet, like so. And then we can go and grab that bright blue. Yeah, it should be good. It's actually a game that I was DMing back in summer, but I found the DMing a little bit too exhausting, so one of my friends is taking over. And it's great because it means I get to play. Okay, and there is the other gauntlet. Push my hair back behind my ears again, and then I think it's time we get that hand done. So I'm actually going to just reuse the hand layer I already have. And we are going to just turn off the glow for a hot second, so I can grab a base color and put that down for the hand. Oh, Cyber Spectre, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to paint, and I haven't really ever painted anything quite like this. So, yeah, I've definitely learned a lot. It's been really cool, really fun to do. Right, so we're going to start off with the shadows. And the funny thing is now this area is going to behave totally different to what we've already worked on, because it's much more rounded and less cylindrical, which again has its own kooky behaviors. The fingers are cylindrical though, so we do have that, at least. just kind of got to approach shading it like you would any kind of metallic armor. Just because it's in the shape of a hand makes it a bit more of a pain, but you can manage it. Just kind of knuckle plates on here. And then just gonna soften some of these bits. And probably, yeah, we're gonna put some kind of dents going up through the hand, where the hand tendons would kind of sit. And don't forget to say thank you very much, very important. I'm very grateful for chat always reminding me to save. Alright, there's our first layer of shadow. Let's grab the next darkest bit. Sorry, there is no time alert. I should probably set one, actually. We've been going for about 1 hour 25 minutes now. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the hand and then see how we feel, because I do have D&D soon. Okay, that's coming along quite nicely. So the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to add that nice blue light, and we're going to go up to the Overlines layer as well. Yeah, tonight is the first session of Odyssey of the Dragon Lords for myself and my friends, so I'm very excited for that. It's going to be shenanigans through the roof. Ancient Greek shenanigans. We're kind of going for a Hades vibe, as in the video game. The beauty of doing overlines is I can actually just straight up paint over whatever the fuck I want, to kind of minimize line art and get the shapes the way I want them. I will be sure to regale you with our adventures on Friday. Alright, I'm going to grab that backlight colour, that slightly more grey tone, and just use that to, again, pop a bit of backlight on some aspects of the hand. Helps just kind of break up the dark monotony, especially as it has to contrast against the sleeve behind it. Whoops, adjust my headphones a bit. And there we go. There is the armor for the arms and the hands all done, and the top half of the coat, which I think is pretty good going for today, actually. And I think that's probably a good place for us to end for now. Whoops, I just plucked out my headphones. That was a terrible idea. Whoop, let's put them back in. So, before I sign off for today, let's pop some links in chat. If you've enjoyed today's stream and want to keep up with my work and when I'm streaming, my Twitter is the best place to follow me. It's kind of like my socials hub. I will post updates on there about giveaways, commissions, status, all that kind of stuff is very much, ow, my wrist, very much done through my Twitter. Next up, Instagram. I also have an Instagram. I will also post, sometimes I'll put sketchy stuff on Instagram that I don't necessarily put on Twitter, as well as costume making, miniature painting, all that stuff can be found on my Insta. Next up, if you're purely interested in my portfolio, ArtStation is very much the place to give me a follow. Not much more to say than that. Music. The music you've heard on the stream, it's had a few kind of compliments. It's by an artist named Kai Engel, so do check out their stuff. They do fantastic royalty-free music that's great for D&D and streaming. Next up, if you want to catch the rest of, if you missed some of this stream or you want to catch some of my previous ones, the VODs can be found on my YouTube channel. I am going to be adding some additional content to my YouTube channel soon, so do watch out for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Last but certainly not least, if you want to support the work I do, the best way to do that is drop me a sub on either Twitch, which is a lovely thing you can do. If you have a Twitch Prime sub to spare, that would be wonderful and very kind of you. Or you can drop me a sub on my Patreon, which is a great way to support me. You can get exclusive sketches and artwork I don't upload anywhere else. I've done a few tutorials as well as commission priority when I do come around to opening my commissions. And with that, I think that's everything for today. I'm going to be back on Friday at, again, 5 p.m. UK time. I believe that's 5 hours ahead of Eastern time and 8 hours ahead of Pacific time. But yeah, that's when I stream. I'll be here on Friday. So until then, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you very, very soon. Goodbye for now.